Because a team is different than just a group of people. You work together, you get a job done. You're all rowing in the same direction and making sure that you've got nobody drilling holes in the boat. My main focus the whole while I've been doing this is to create a good, nice, reliable swimwear brand that people I know and my family want to wear. It's just about giving people choices so that they can feel comfortable and confident when they go to the beach or pool. And that's always my focus, and just keep developing new things. As the competition is copying your stuff, you just keep looking at new ideas. How can I make this better? What else can I do?
Ladies and gentlemen, Earthlings and Martians, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome back to the My First Business podcast, where I find mentors for my business and put them behind a mic. Each conversation is designed for you, my dear listener, and for myself to help us improve our businesses and feel a little less lonely on this turbulent journey. My guest for today's conversation is Maureen. What I loved the most about Maureen, apart from her being the first Canadian on the show, I think, is that she's a systems and process nerd like me. And you're in for a treat because her contagious laugh and energy and genuine passion for what she does shines throughout this episode. So, who is Maureen? Well, her journey began from being a Canadian Air Force helicopter mechanic to the founder and CEO and head of design for COÉGA Sunwear. When she realized the need for protective sunwear in Dubai, especially for her kids, she leveraged her expertise in sewing and design to create the pool shoe, which marked the beginning of their success story. After more than 19 years, COÉGA stands as a highly commendable company in the fashion sector and works jointly with other major brands. You might have heard of them: Disney, Marvel, Warner Bros., Masha and the Bear, and others. Here are some of the key points Maureen and I talked about. Experiences from hiring friends and having to let them go, celebrating 20 years of success, using creativity to make the business future-proof, why streamlining processes is crucial and what happens if they're not followed, tips for planning an effective work week, how to prioritize tasks and set deadlines, and much, much, much more. As always, I've been so lucky to have found such humble superstars that should be heard about more, and Maureen is definitely on that list. True to the spirit of the show, there's no fluff, not too much jargon, just raw passion for how she shapes her business and keeps it growing. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I did. Without much further ado, here's Maureen Hall on the EO series of the My First Business podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Entrepreneurs Organization, or EO for short. Since its inception in 1987, EO has evolved into a vibrant global network, now boasting 17,000 members across 60 plus countries. Now, just in the UAE, where they've been active since 97, it's especially impressive. They're approaching 150 members, representing an average revenue of $120 million and a combined workforce of 31,000 employees across diverse industries like technology, healthcare, logistics, real estate, jewelry, media services, beauty, food and beverage, and I really could go on and on. EO's strength lies in the support and the opportunities it provides. As an entrepreneur, I understand how solitary this path can be, and that's where EO UAE comes in, offering these invaluable resources through its robust calendar of events, workshops, networking opportunities, and a mentorship program that pairs you with seasoned business leaders. So if you're a business owner in search of a supportive community, rich with networking and structured support through accountability groups and mentors, then EO might be just what you need. Curious about EO? Stay tuned for interviews with EO members on this podcast, including today's guests, just so that you can get a sneak peek of what's in store. For more information and to apply, check out the link in the show notes. Maureen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
You're not going to expect where I'm going to start, but that's usually what I do.
Okay.
But I think there's a book that every business owner should read when they're starting their business.
Okay.
And I believe it's The Complete Book of Sewing by Reader's Digest.
I still have it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Can you tell us why that book? Where that book entered your life and what that means?
That book came from my older brother. Gave it to me for Christmas back when I was 16. I'd already been sewing, for a few years, and I was getting into some more technical things, with sewing. It wasn't just straight lines anymore. I was making some pretty nice clothes for myself and that. And he, he gave me that at Christmas. And, I've kept that book. There's not a lot of things you keep that long. Although I bought my sewing machine the same year. Maybe that's what the whole coincided together. And I still have that same sewing machine and I still use it.
Is it a Singer?
It is a Singer. Yes.
It's awesome. My mom's kept hers too.
Okay.
She's had one of those.
It's sturdy. It's, it's made of metal. A lot of the new ones now are made of plastic. It does all the basic stitches with a couple of little extra ones. A blind hem, if anybody knows what that is. That's very practical. And actually my oldest brother showed me how to use that to do a blind hem because he knew how to sew.
What's a blind hem?
It's you're hemming your pants and you don't want the top stitching to be seen on the outside. There's a stitch and it kind of goes straight, catch, straight, catch. So
making it invisible.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, yeah.
That's a technique.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask my mom if she knows how to do
Yeah, I'm sure she does.
And this book and this sewing machine has traveled with you in two very different parts of the world.
Yes.
For a long time.
For a long time.
And but it didn't play a big role in between, I guess. Were you always kind of sewing?
I have
even when you were in the military?
Yes, I was making a lot of my own clothes when I was in the military. And, one of my roommates, he was like, I've got a friend who's looking for a military tuxedo. And I'm just wondering if you'd like to.
Military tuxedo.
Yeah. So with all the braid on it and the satin lapels and, wings and all that kind of stuff. And I said, well, I'll give it a try. Sure, And I went down, because I was in the military, I could go down to the military stores and get the fabric, all the stuff for it, get the pattern. And I did that. And then, of course, that caught on, and a number of people asked me to make them, and I just kept making them. I wasn't sure about the construction because there's a lot of construction in a jacket, in like a suit jacket or a tuxedo jacket, to make it nice and stiff and that. And so I had gone down to see this tailor in downtown Ottawa, because that's where I was at the time. And he showed me how to do all the different layers in between. And he used to make them for like the big high colonels and generals and that kind of stuff. So he was very nice, and he showed me how to get all the layers of the construction inside.
Yeah,
so,
well, you probably met a wide-eyed young woman be like, wow, you can do that? Tell me more. This is why I think I'm gonna love talking to you. You remind me of my time in Canada, where a lot there's a bit of a culture of using your hands and using your body, which we don't find here as much. We're a bit more complacent with our own lives here, where we don't end up doing these things, or even. I read or I heard from a little birdie that there's a 3-port automatic sprinkler in your home.
Yes.
That is feeding water to these 24 plants that you have.
Yes. I where we live now, we have a big terrace.
Yeah.
And I love plants. I love to garden. So I lined all the plants up, and then they needed water, and I'm not going to water them every day, and I don't have anybody there to water them every day. So I installed a sprinkler system that runs to all of them individually with a timer, and it feeds them all at, certain times of the day, depending on the weather and the time of year, how much they need, and regularly pay attention to them and open them up a bit more if they need more, a bit less if they need less. And I like doing stuff like that.
Is that meditation for you? Just
it is just getting out there and repotting some of the plants. Some of them start like this, and then they're in pots like this, and I'm just hauling them out of there and putting them in and rearranging them. And yeah.
Well, and I can see, and obviously it is a business podcast, and I'll come to that, but some of these things that we're discussing right now have so much to do with operationally how a business is built in the back end, the stuff that customers never see, like the blind hem. Like you just buy the pant, you don't know what hem it is or what the technique was. But at the same time, without those kind of efficiencies that you put in place, whether they are, and I know you're a nerd about templates and checklists and procedures, and so are we, but obviously we can be getting better at this. So I wanted to ask you, in your experience, how do you balance, the rigidity of having these kind of standard operating procedures or manuals with the need for flexibility, at some point either the business is growing or the business dynamics are changing? Are you very strict with your processes in times, or are they very adaptable? How do you build them in a way that they can be morphed into something else?
Right. So you start off with the steps or whatever, your procedures as they are. And as the business grows and things change, you change your policies and procedures and you update your templates. Now, I spent 12 years in the Air Force, and the Air Force, military in general, is very big on policies and procedures and templates and checklists. And there's always revisions. Every couple of months, there's new revisions, and aviation as well. Like every time there's an incident in an airline, their policies get updated to be able to think about that incident, how it happened, and how to prevent it. So I kind of use that same technique in COÉGA. We're just updating them, changing the steps in the template. We often do that, actually. Yeah.
Do you remember the last time you did it? Like, what causes the changes? What are the different reasons why they would change? If you have an example.
Yeah, we just introduced a new, it's been a year and a half, 2 years now, PLM system. It's called a product life cycle management system. So it's right from the design stage. Once the clothes have been designed, but building them. So it's this new software. We used to do everything by hand. We used to have Excel sheets and fill a lot of things in by hand, copy, paste. And then we just now key everything into this software. And eventually a tech pack is what it's called, all the instructions on how to build everything, and it's pulled from the system. So because of that system going from a Excel spreadsheet template into this software, there's many changes that need to be updated, so that's ongoing now.
Is it in transition stage right now?
It's still in the transition because every time you do something a little bit different, so, you're doing something, you're doing your regular lines, but then you're doing an exclusive for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's like, well, now we need to make a different thing because it's exclusive, because, so there's just always small variations, and you just need to get those into your system.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it as a new business owner. There are certain parts, so this is why Alina and I make a good team. I'm always overthinking, and she's always underthinking, in the sense that her philosophy, which I agree with and she agrees with mine, even though they're contradicting, hers is you do the thing, and once you've done the thing, a checklist kind of emerges. Right. You kind of go with your gut, see what the next step, go one step at a time, the best thing to do next. And then over time, when you've kind of close to completion of the first round of that process, let's say, you then have organically created a checklist.
Yes.
And I'm of the school of thought where, like, if I just give me a couple of days, let me think about all possible things that can happen.
Right.
And then I come back with like these giant pages of like, here's all the potentials. And she just looks at it. She's like, way too long. Are you a fan of either or? Are you...
I try not to make things too complicated because people won't follow them. I think you have to keep, for me anyway, my experience is to keep things as simple as possible, keep it easy, and people will follow it. And and if they think something is too complicated, we talk about it, and we make sure that all the different departments who not only are involved in that particular piece of the process,
Yeah.
but how it affects every other department down the line from there. Because some people say, oh, I'll just change this, it's no big deal.
Yeah.
They don't realize how it affects the rest of the departments, you know, within an organization. So we like to discuss these kind of things to make sure.
How do you communicate that? Is there...
Well, I'm not a fan of these big, long email trails. Oh, my God. It's like, just give me
New policy alert.
Oh, give me the Coles notes, you know,
Yeah.
like let's just, and we talk, and then we talk. We make a thing, we write it out. Okay, let's see. And then somebody has to take ownership of whoever owns that template or that policy. There's always an
Right.
owner of each different type of policies. So like if you have sales, sales are responsible for the sales policies. If you have design, the design is, you know, manager, each of the managers. If you
Right.
have marketing or if you have finance, or they're the owners. So production, you know, owners of different ones. Even though we outsource our production, we still have somebody who oversees that from our side.
Right.
So yeah.
See, that's the thing hasn't clicked for me yet. The owners of the policy, because as co-business owners, we just think we're the owners of everything, and then but if you pass it down to other people and they take ownership,
Yes.
and they can kind of not enforce, but at least ensure compliance.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Do you measure compliance for your processes and uptake, or if things are breaking? How do you find out if a process is breaking and it's not being complied to? Because they're both kind of synonymous, right? Like if people are not following them, partially it could be you who made the process, or it could be them.
Could be them.
How do you differentiate?
Well, I think that if there's a breakdown and they're not being followed, it affects down the line, and somebody else will bring it up, and then you have to address it. You know, so I have to say one of the things. Not every day, but often I'm like, okay, we have certain checklists, like new line checklist, new style checklist, and, you know, a CCC, another checklist. And I'm always like, everything's updated, everybody's updated their stuff, and you can't just go in there and say you've done it. You actually have to make sure that you've done it, because it will affect people down the line.
Yeah.
And then that's where you run into problems. But I think everybody on the team is pretty... You know, I mean, I can't say 100% or anything, but I think everybody realizes.
Yeah, but I don't personally think it can ever be 100%, right?
No,
it's just
no,
getting as close to it as
possible, and know that things are going to happen and how you deal with it and how you rectify it.
Yeah. I think the phrase that I use with Alina, because she's a big stickler about these things, and someone should be in the business, should be a bit of a stickler.
Yeah.
The phrase I use with her is more often than not. Is the right thing happening more often than not?
Yes.
Because that's the answer to that is usually decides the next step.
Yes.
Because in the heat of the moment, you know, when you're the one who've made the checklist and you see it's not being followed, you're like, I spent so much time making this to avoid the mistakes, so you're not following it. And then, like, the last thing anyone needs is, as a manager, is to have that call with a single person. It's like, buddy, you're missing steps over and over again. So the question that we do is like, more often than not, and then that kind of calms her down. It's like, yeah, more often than not, person X is doing it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Exactly.
Maybe they were in a rush. Maybe.
And these things happen. You know, things happen. So you just have to everything can't be perfect all the time. There's always going to be little things.
Yeah.
It's how you deal with it, and how you then try and put something in place so that it doesn't happen again. You know, and this is what I always say is that, okay, it happened. Let's just talk about it. Let's see why it happened, or, you know, and let's see if there's something we can do to put in place to make sure that we're not reviewing this same thing again.
Do you have an example of something that wasn't working really well, or was a pain in the behind in terms of a very complicated process? I know you like to keep it simple, but did you ever go to that complicated?
I think it's just somebody not doing their step in the right sequence of order.
Yeah.
So, and that's the whole thing. Like the checklist is all in
Sequential.
order, and
Yeah.
it has dates on there as well. So if it's kind of done out or missed, it really affects people down the line. And then you have to bring everybody together that's involved, not the he say, she said, this sort of thing. Bring everybody together and see how we can iron this out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In our business, so where the difference is service business versus product business. When we've written these steps down, it kind of also acts as an advil for our clients, in the sense that because what we do is intangible, when we give them the list, like here's where we're at, here's who's doing what happens next, and dates, kind of puts them at ease, because it's very hard to tell people what's going on when the service you're giving is intangible. So we're giving marketing services. Obviously, the most tangible thing is customers at the end of the day. We help you get customers. But until that point, there's a lot of quietness.
Yes.
And we found like one of the use cases, not just to get everyone organized, but also how do we share this with the client? Something closely related to templates and checklists is time management.
Time management.
It's something I think you and I can nerd out about. From the top, actually, from a macro level, as you have to wear many hats, which is what I'm learning, wear all the hats. How do you remember when you first started organizing your week, if you did, and contrast it with how you organize your week today? What contrast do you see from those times to today? What has changed?
In the beginning, I used like a to-do list for a long time. But now what I do is I put it in my calendar. So if it's an email that's important that I need to get on, I copy the email, the whole email.
That's a hack.
Yeah. And just pop it in my calendar. So it's in there, and I'm always looking at my calendar for the week. And then on the weekend, as I get through things, that I put a special bar on it, and it says out of office, but it actually means to me I've done it, I've taken care of it, so it's done. I don't remove it because I want to be reminded of when I did it. So there's a bar that you can just press out of office, put it on the side of it. Doesn't work for repeating meetings, so just so you know, from my experience. Anyway, maybe somebody has a hack for that. And then on the weekend, I kind of organize my week, and I cut whatever I have not accomplished, and I pop it into the next week and then rearrange it.
Do you care about specific time when you're popping it in the
Not
calendar?
Not necessarily,
just
unless it's a meeting. Unless
Right.
it's an actual meeting. Other than that, if it's just something I really need to get to, it can go anywhere. It can go, if it doesn't have a time restraint. If it's something that's really specific for time, then it goes in there. And I color code them as well. I have colors for marketing, finance, design, production, meetings, and me, just myself, So
meeting with yourself.
Just not a meeting.
You hop on a Zoom call with yourself.
Exactly. I'm going for a meeting.
You put the mirror down there. We're like, so, Maureen, let's have a chat.
Yeah.
What have you been up to? What have you done for me lately? You promised you'd be eating better this week. Okay, color coding.
Because I don't really like to-do lists. You're always transcribing and transcribing and transcribing. It's just like,
Well, I wanted to talk to you about this because you have that military background, which is known for getting stuff done in whatever way, shape, or format. Things get done, and there's a time to do things, and there's rituals or repeated activities that need to happen regardless of whatnot. And I am a bit more of so there's type A and type B people. I'm like a type C person, where I'm very unorganized to a point where I'm like, I pretend to be, I'm very artistic and creative. I'm painting with my brush. Business is my art. But that doesn't serve me well all the time. So I try to bring a part of my personality out, which is not ready there. And I've experimented with to-do lists, as you did when you started. I've tried the calendar thing. That really fries my brain. So I'm happy to hear that there is, the mistake I was making evident now is setting a time for a task versus in that day it needs to happen. and the meeting is the one that's like time.
Yeah.
Because I also don't control my energy throughout the day as much as I think I do.
Mm-hmm.
The older I get, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I do want my naps in the afternoon
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, some mornings I do have a heavy breakfast, which kind of derails the cognitive abilities. What happens when, two things, when you don't get stuff done that you said you would on the day? What do you do with that kind of thing? Are you constantly readjusting that calendar?
Yeah.
Do you
I move stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, is anyone going to die if I don't get it done? You know what I mean? Like, just how. If it's something that has to be done, then I do have, you know, I do know every day, and it's something that I have read, that pick a few things, the top things you must accomplish today, and work on those and don't get distracted. Don't get sidetracked. We can be easily sidetracked, especially now. Your phone is pinging, your laptop is, you know, little messages are popping up everywhere. So you got to turn all that kind of stuff off, and then you say, this is it, I'm going to work until I finish this, and I'm not going to get distracted. I'm just going to set, okay, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I'm going to set 40 minutes, I'm going to work on this, then I can take a little break or whatever, if it's not done. But I find if I do that and limit distractions, I can usually get stuff done.
Yeah, we've tried. I mean, there's a term for it now. They call it deep work, just to make it fancy, but it's just I would just call it work, right?
Yeah.
It's just,
work that has to get done.
It's just work the shit that has to be has to be done, right? And I get so mad at birds chirping sometimes. 'Cause I'm like, stop! I'm
trying to focus.
I'm trying to focus. Have you found times in the day where you found that for that least distractive time for you? Is there a specific hours in the day, morning, night? Where do you fall?
I mean, for me, I think it's the morning. You know, the morning, you know, because as the day goes on, there's more and more and more distractions. But yeah, first thing in the morning, I mean, you come in, you know, because I usually go out there every day. Not every day, but 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you're just getting a little caught up with everybody, seeing how things are, and then sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to tackle this.
Right.
Until lunchtime or whatever it is.
So you know your big rocks for the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. What are the things that must be done today, and get on to those, and then just try and really focus. Sometimes I find that if I really need to focus and I'm having a hard time, I put on like classical music, put my earphones on. They say that is supposed to be really good for studying and focusing.
Yes.
So there's some really good, you know, good classical music. There's some that is like especially good for studying or focusing. So I do that. Yeah.
It's a very timely conversation for me because I've spent a good 6 months of last year, so the end of last year, just patting myself on the back for having done check things off of my to-do list and feeling productive.
Yes.
And it was just busy work.
Yeah.
Because if I now review those lists, were they moving the needle for my business a lot? I can't be confident and say yes. And one of the shifts that happened this year early, and that's why I'm saying it's timely, is this concept that came to me through a coach, was the big rocks. Like, know your big rock and everything else is BS.
Yeah.
And now that you're saying that, will someone die if I don't do this?
Exactly.
And I was doing a lot of the things just because I felt like if I don't do it, and I didn't have the distinction between now versus not now.
Yeah.
The simple distinction of now versus not now.
Yeah.
Everything was now.
Yeah.
How do you, as again, someone who color codes her calendars because she's wearing all the different hats in the business, when you actually, even if you don't write a to-do list down, you have this mental to-do list. How do you prioritize? Like, how do you answer the question of, is this thing now or not now? Have you found any mental models for yourself to?
I don't know, but I just think the things that are time sensitive, the things that you have a deadline because somebody else needs to do something so that they can achieve their deadline. You know, And I'm very good with helping some of the people on my team to prioritize. Okay, I know that this has been on your list, but really, is it something that you need to focus on today when these other new things that have come in that are such a priority, because we can't ship this next order until this has been done. So let's just rearrange, move things around a bit. And
because people get attached to their to-do list
they
too, right?
do, and they're like, "Oh no, I've been told I have to get this done." It's like, yes, okay, we've given a deadline, but because sometimes if you don't give deadlines, it'll never get done.
Yes.
So it's just about adjusting those deadlines. Can it be moved? Can somebody else take on something that's on the list to help out a bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that perspective. I like that because it's such a guilty thing, or when something new comes on your plate.
Yes.
You're almost so like attached to your existing relationship that you look at this new relationship like, nope, I'm committed.
Yeah.
I'm already committed.
I said I was going to do this.
Yeah.
I've got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Alina's very good at this. She knows, like, in the moment. She's very good at constantly readjusting her to-do list. With the flow of things.
Yeah.
Versus me, I'm a bit more married, so it's nice to hear that the way you're framing these things. But she hasn't been able to articulate. I can just see her. She's so good at it.
Yeah.
But she's not very good at articulating how she does it to me. She's like, just do it.
Yeah. Sometimes it comes more natural to some people.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Do you have children?
Not yet. No.
Yeah. When you have children
Yes.
and you're trying to juggle all those things and run a business and keep everything in the air, the balls in the air, and they're made of glass and you can't let any of them fall. It's like
it's true.
You just slowly and surely learn how to prioritize a bit better, I think.
Yeah, because you see perspective a bit more then, right? Like now it's, if you don't take care of a certain living being, it'll die. So becomes, and that kind of learning, that cognition, that changes into business as well, where you start to realize, like, well, the business die if I don't do this.
Yeah, exactly. Really,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm extremely organized.
Yeah.
I always have been.
Yeah.
Everything, I've got my boys and my husband, and is always like, do you know where the so-and-so is? I'm like, second cupboard in, second shelf down, the back left corner. It's in a little box there. I know where everything is in the house. They ask me for anything, and I'm just like, I know exactly where it is.
So here's where I connect with you, because in the physical realm, I'm like you.
Yeah.
I remember, like, if I drive to a place once, I will never need a map again.
Yeah.
Because I just have a great visual memory on, like, where things are and what to look for.
Yeah.
Same thing in the house. I think I got it from my mom, where I was losing things as a kid. She'd be like, left drawer, bottom of this and everything. But with mental things, it's very disorganized up in here. Physically, I'm very good. I need to find. I'm always finding different ways, but I'm taking this calendar approach.
Okay.
I'm going to test it out and let you know. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, let me know. One thing that I've found, and I've been doing it kind of off and on for maybe 10, 12 years, but not so. But after COVID, I got into meditating, and it just gives you a totally different perspective about things, and it doesn't get you into that fight or flight mode. You learn how to just put that down. Okay, not right now, and let's be calm and think about this in a calm way, and not make decisions based on fear or anger or anything like that. It's definitely just
How did you come up or come to that phase?
I just started listening to different things on on YouTube. Things would just all of a sudden show up and be like, oh, that looks interesting. And you just listen to it.
And then you get sucked in.
And then you're like, oh, wow, that's interesting. And then, you follow all these. And I decided on Instagram, I don't really follow many people I know on Instagram. I just follow a lot of inspirational people. And I just like to listen to their stuff, know. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I can see the glow in your face when you talk about it too, because
it just makes you so peaceful and whatever. whatever,
Yeah. And what message or who was it that resonated really well with you? If anyone else wants to explore their own path.
I really like Joe Dispenza. He's very good.
Oh my God, he comes up in every EO conversation.
Every EO, yeah.
It's like all you guys are like. You should get paid for this.
I like Brene Brown.
Yeah.
I like Marissa Peers. Lewis Howes.
Okay.
Oh gosh, Dr. Shafali. I mean, there's just so many. You start watching any of that kind of stuff. It's like anything now, on YouTube or Instagram. You start watching anything and they're just sending you more things that are similar.
Yeah.
And then you just sort of have that's your, your go-to when you're just looking for a little something to give you a bit of a pick-me-up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I very much relate to that side of the world, and I have for a long time. And this is not, again, a scripted question because we're talking about this. I find it sometimes hard to reconcile these two worlds. One being stay calm, don't live with fear, be objective about everything, breathe, relax, know the perspective. You're a monkey on a rock that's just hurtling into space. Kind of feeling. And the other part, which is, if you don't get this done, you're going to be out on the street.
And you're not going to have anything to eat. I know.
Exactly. So these are, I shuffle between the two extremes. And I guess it's a journey for everyone to find their balance,
to find the balance and to find what resonates with you. What resonates with me is not going to resonate with somebody else. And what resonates with you is we're all individuals. We're trying to make our own path. We're down here banging around on this place we call Earth, just trying to get out alive. Although we're not. We get out.
Nobody has
dead.
so far.
Nobody has so far.
Statistics show that 100% of deaths have been caused by people who were alive in the first place.
Yeah. And then they weren't.
So nobody gets out alive. But at the same time, because I do remember when I get into these wormholes of listening to people, it's very similar, like someone like Michael Singer, for example.
Yes, he's very good as well.
They take me to another place where my to-do list just forgets about itself, and I have to kind of reel myself back in. So I told Alina, like, this year for the first 6 months, I'm not reading anything spiritual. Or listening or doing. I'm like, I'll come back to it, but I need to focus on the ugly side of the world, if that is, if one is a beautiful. Do you find yourself like finding that balance now? Are you good at navigating?
I've found the balance now. I just, I just get stuff done. I get what I can get done. I just, breathing is a really good one. There's a lot about breathing. I mean, I know even in the military and in situations where you're in high stress, the box breathing, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, and then hold for 4. So that's a really good one. And I've used that with my boys a bit as well. You know. It's just, and it does naturally calm you down.
I can see that. It's just remembering to do it.
Yes.
It's the thing.
Catching yourself in the moment and going, is this really productive of me spiraling down? Am I really going to be out on the street with no food? Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it going to get to that? But our mind, and I always say this, the mind is a beautiful thing, but it can also be a very destructive thing.
Yeah.
If we let it get loose on its own.
Yeah.
I think that's just my perspective.
Hello, everyone. I want to take a moment to share something that's really, really close to my heart. As you know, this podcast isn't just a series of episodes. It's you and I getting mentored by the wisest of the wisest. Each episode is crafted with care, aiming to bring not just stories, but wisdom and insight into the fascinating and sometimes lonely world of entrepreneurship. This is more than just a podcast. It's a personal mentorship session recorded on camera for all of us to learn and grow together. And this is where you come in. If any episode has resonated with you, your subscription or your vote means the world to me. Every subscription lights a fire inside of me and fuels me to keep delivering content that I wish had existed before I started this podcast 2 years ago. So I humbly ask for your support. Please hit pause now and find that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to this. It's a small action for you, but it means everything to me. Thank you for being a part of this community and for your support and for choosing to walk this path with me. Stay curious and stay inspired. Thank you so much. No, 100%. If not in check, it's just really weird sitting in a coffee shop and doing the box breathing.
Yeah.
Because
you're
like, look, that crazy guy.
You can just do it very nonchalant.
Yeah, I guess.
You know.
Yeah.
Just very,
Because I'd rather not be looking at the phone, and these days,
Yes.
and if you're at a coffee shop, holding a book or a phone, you're just sitting there, and you're just a psycho. That's a serial killer.
On a phone.
No, I do end up sometimes, just like stare, because you can't even stare at people, right? So you have to stare at things, and then you want to stare at the one thing while you're doing your breathing.
Yeah.
You just look like a serial killer.
You just pretend you're off in la la land. I'm just daydreaming. I'm thinking about something I'm gonna do.
Yeah. I like that. I think even driving, like if you have a bit of a commute, like nothing stops you from doing breathing. Because there are certain kinds of breathing, obviously, you shouldn't do while driving.
Yes, exactly.
Like long holds and Wim Hof methods.
Yes,
and
You want to be
things.
careful where you are when you're doing that, And even those big, I think box breathing you can do very, very subtly, whereas some of the ones where, you're supposed to breathe in,
Yeah, exactly.
That one, okay, you're going to draw some attention, but that's supposed to calm you as well.
Yeah,
So,
or doing the one nose in or the other nose out.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's just remembering when to do these. Like I feel like we all know. So I read a quote. It said, I'm going to butcher it completely, but it said if knowledge was if getting knowledge was the answer, then all of us would have six-pack abs. Because the internet has everything.
Oh, yeah.
And there's remedies for everything. There's a good way to live life.
Yeah.
And we all know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of just like having those self-reminders. And it also depends on the people around you. If they have any good habits that serve as a reminder for you, and how your environment dictates what you end up doing as well. Yeah. So I'm glad you're teaching your boys about the breathing, because if they get hooked to it, they're going to remind you.
Yes, exactly. Well, they do actually. My older son, who's now 30, he's quite into all of this.
Nice.
So he's, he's
That's good. Yeah, Alina and I usually like to take these kind of journeys together, and we prod each other along. But
yes, it's always nice to have someone to talk to about it.
Yeah, and also to stop the spiral of the other person.
This is the thing.
Someone else to recognize your spiral.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And whether it's like something at home or even outside, like I'm not knocking, like people can have people outside. Yeah. I know, like even therapy has a bad rep in our part of the world, in my culture at least. And obviously we were talking before camera, and I've lived in North America as well, where it's not as taboo.
Yeah.
But for me, I just saw it as a way to stop spiraling sometimes.
Yes.
And it's, if it's helpful.
If it's helpful. Everybody has their own way of doing things. We're not all the same. That's why there's so many choices out there. Yeah. It's not everything works for everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that every time now Maureen goes on YouTube, she has like a ton of reminders, like Joe Dispenza, Dr. Shafali is like, I was supposed to breathe. All I needed to do was just breathe, right? In that way, I'm willing to give up my privacy to the internet overlords, because have it. Have it, and then show me the stuff that I'm into.
Yeah.
Switching topics again. Okay. I told you I will not be linear. Yeah. I want to talk about failure. I want to talk about your favorite failure, if there is one. And by favorite failure, you could take it any way you want. But to me, it would be anything that if you were to go back, you'd still want that failure. Because it took you to a place where you didn't want to go, but you had to go. Is there one that comes to mind for you in your journey in the business?
In the business or in life?
You could do both, either or, because I see them both as
the same.
As the same, yeah.
Well, actually, let's see. Let's do life. Well, let's start with life. I was not a very good student, and not because I didn't try.
But you're so organized.
I'm so organized, but as it turns out, when my oldest son was in grade 4, they recognized that he was probably dyslexic. And so he did all the testing, and we did a lot of work with him for a few years, going to all the lessons. And I realized, oh my God, this is going to help me so much more, because obviously I must have been, but back in the 60s, 70s, nobody tested for dyslexia, right?
Yeah.
But so I actually failed high school. Yeah, I did not pass. I got, I think, a 46%. I had to go back and take night classes.
Yeah.
And I got a pass. I think I got like 58% or something crazy, Well done.
Wow. Congratulations.
But it has made me to be the person to find other ways to do things and to be successful, So even though I did sort of think, for quite a while that, oh gosh, I'm just not that smart. But I think you realize, after some time that being smart or being successful doesn't necessarily mean what happens in one thing or another. You can still be smart and successful. You just don't remember your times tables, or you can't spell, things like that. And we did move around a lot. My dad was in the Air Force as well. So we kept going back and forth between Newfoundland school system to Ontario school system several times. And so that didn't help me, whereas all my older brothers and sisters all have degrees, masters, they're all, but yeah. So that would have been,
What was the difference between getting that 46 and 58, those extra 12 percentage points?
Percentage points.
What would you attribute
I think
having changed?
Just, it wasn't like, oh, yippee. It's just like, okay, good, that's done and over with,
But what did you do differently apart from night school when you went back to do it again?
What did I do differently? Probably not a lot. School was never something that I was, just because maybe it didn't come easily, that I was always like, I've got it, I did try and do better. I did try, as I learned with my son, people who are dyslexic, and there's all kinds of people, you're actually working twice as hard to try and accomplish the same thing until you learn the little the tricks and how to work around those things, But I was just glad it was over with and move on, do something else.
Yeah. I read a tweet from one of these guys that I used to follow, Naval Ravikant. He's like a Silicon Valley VC / founder / billionaire kind of guy who's now a spiritual guru sometimes too, part-time spiritual guru.
Yeah.
But he said, I hope you have your failures early.
Yeah.
He's like, I hope you don't start with success because I guess he was trying to say like it humbles you.
It does. Yeah. And I think people who don't have any failures as they're growing up and then they get out into the real world and they have some failures, it's so devastating. Whereas if you have failures when you're young, you're just like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, that's over with. Now let me go and build that fence I was building,
Yeah, for sure. And you're so right about like, some people have to work harder because a system is a system, right?
Yes.
You can't go and change a system.
No.
And then you find ways to play around the system. It's like having a competition between an elephant and a monkey to climb a tree.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to win?
Exactly.
Does that mean the elephant's useless?
No.
But the competition is not suited
exactly
to
for
them.
Everybody. And I think they're finding that more now. Like you've got all of these, what do they call it? Montessori schools and things like that. So it's becoming a little more mainstream. Not mainstream enough. They still sit down, be quiet, and I'm going to drill some facts into your
scales,
head.
right? It's all a thing of scaling.
Yeah.
Like what scales the most? It's like this rigid system scales the most.
Yeah.
If you break it down for every individual kid, and every individual kids, I mean, you have a few, so you know that they're all very individual.
Yes.
And there's never been anyone like them on Earth before, and there never will be after. They are the most unique combination of genes and everything that exists. And you can't really make a school for every kid.
No.
So where homeschooling comes in.
Homeschooling comes in.
Yeah. I've seen a trend of that, but
there is. And when we first moved here, our eldest son was 6. He had just turned 6. And back then in 1999, 2000, there wasn't a lot of school places. And so we were struggling to find a place for him. And my husband said, oh, maybe you could homeschool. And I was like, are you kidding me?
It's a small job, right? Just got to teach him the tables.
I can't even do them.
Do you know my high school score?
I was like, we'll find a place for him.
We'll find a place. That is one job I will outsource.
Exactly.
No, I feel you, Maureen. So very similar in the sense that similar yet different. So grades 1 to 10 for me, I'd always be in the top 5 in terms of grades. And I get there and feel pretty proud. But I was never gunning for first place. I didn't have that competitive drive or pressure from parents. Grade 11, I flunk all my subjects, every single one. And you start to wonder, like, how does this kid from like top 5 all the time, always on the leaderboard, flunks every single thing? It's just a change in environment. It really messed me up. And then luckily, I found a school here that admitted me into 12th grade based on my 10th grade results. It worked out well because they do 13 grades. So their 12th grade was an actual 11th grade. So I said, well, I've done your previous grade and here are my results. Can we not talk about what I did last year? And they let me in and I went back into being the top 5 kind of thing. And it's just, I was so glad that failure happened because it showed me like if I don't focus, this is what happens. Because in 11th grade, I was bunking school. I changed schools for 11th grade. I didn't settle in. I wouldn't say bullied, but I wasn't fully integrated into the new school. The teachers were not paying attention. It's a new kid. We don't know him. We're not going to pay attention to him. We have all these kids that have been here for 10 years. We're paying attention to them. And it was really feeling really isolated. I remember my mom waking me up one day at like 10:30, and she's like, "Nate, you have an exam today?" I was skipping exam. I was just sleeping at home. I was like, "Mom, today's off. Like, other kids have the paper." And she dragged me out of bed. I was in my pajamas. I went to school in my pajamas, and I did the test. And it was multiple choice. And I just marked C for 100 questions, and I walked out because I'm like, I have no clue what's happening here.
It's a guessing game.
It's a guessing game. Odds are it's a C. I just went C with everything.
Yeah, exactly. There's going to be so many of them that are C's.
For someone who wants to try this, don't, because I didn't pass. I didn't pass. What about a favorite failure for business? Anything comes to mind?
A favorite failure, probably, hiring friends and feeling, how can you let them go, and not letting.
So hiring and firing friends.
Yeah. That was, early on and just, how to, I think that as a business owner, and it's something that I have read recently as well, is that is one of the things that entrepreneurs make quite often is not letting go of people because of loyalty, when actually it does more harm to the business because other people see it and then it brings the rest of the team down. So it's very
the net negative.
Yeah, it's very bad for the team. So
I had to go through that. But you've learned the lesson.
You learn lessons.
The hardest way.
Yeah. And sometimes you let things go and you're like, oh, and then eventually that little pebble in your shoe is, it's
Yeah. We grew up, so Lena and I grew up hearing tons of stories about, brothers that get into business together, and then there's a massive divide in the whole family, and you haven't seen your family for like 30 years because it all started with a crack in the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we were quite careful about that. And then we started wondering, like, is that true for us? Because we're kind of friends. And I are friends first and then a couple later. And someone told us, like, what matters is what plate you eat from.
Yeah.
So what that means is that when you and your wife work together, you're going to go to the same kitchen and eat the food. So you reap the benefits together.
Yeah.
But if it's someone outside your house, whether it be a sibling or a friend, the moment they have their family to feed and have different set of plates and their different kitchen, that's when the divide started happening.
Yeah. And then they get, one family is like, what did you do today? Well, I had to do this. Oh, well, that's not very fair. How come the other person is not doing that? Oh, you should be saying, So it's not just how you're feeling inside. It's the feedback, probably not very constructive feedback that you're getting from your kind of team, And it's just then starting to build this whole,
Like you have to do a bit more to earn your keep than just be a good person and a friend and helpful.
Yeah.
Because I guess, as a business is, I've heard this somewhere too, and I don't know if you agree with this, but someone was calling complete BS on like, oh, you know how everyone says their businesses are families? Like, no. It's not a family. It's a machine that has an economic purpose and it needs to do the things so that you can take care of your family.
Yes.
But don't try to, when these bosses, when they come out with pizza on Fridays, be like, we're a family. It's like, no, you're not.
No,
you're not supposed to be. You weren't meant to be.
Yeah.
Family values are very different than business values.
Than business. And for me, I like to think of people as a team.
Yeah.
And what makes a team successful? It's different than a family. What makes a family successful? A team. I mean, look at the military. They're great for it, putting people together. And people really learn to rely on each other. They do things for each other. They have each other's back. And I think it's, more about building that where, you have open communication. People are not running in their little silos. This is my department or whatever. But I mean, not family so much, more of a team.
Yeah.
And having that whole team. Because a team is different than just a group of people. You work together, you get a job done. You're all rowing in the same direction and making sure that you've got nobody drilling holes in the boat, Yeah.
Yeah. And it's not, the biggest thing is it's not unconditional love.
Yeah.
In business, in family, you can expect that for sure. If it's a blood relation, unconditional love, no matter how much of a a-hole you are to me, you're still family.
Yeah.
And you work out compromises in family all the time, but those are very expensive in business.
Very expensive. And it doesn't mean you have to be best friends with everybody.
Yeah.
You can, but you still have a working environment that you can get along and do things. I mean, yeah. It's a fine line with like so many things in life.
Yeah, it is. Like when I used to see job descriptions and I saw like family environment, I'm like, skip. You don't know what you're talking about. Either you've never had a family, or something's really off here. You're a cult. I'd rather be a cult in a business than a family. Like cult values are so much more fun than having family values. Okay. You know what? I kind of did that lesson of that friendship thing. I was on the other end of it. So I was the friend hired by my friend in his business.
Yes.
And I just had the sense to resign and quit because I said, I know why you're keeping me on because it's probably awkward for you to have that conversation. Yeah. But I'm not adding value.
Yeah.
I was at some point, but like this is out of my abilities.
Yeah, and that's the thing. As a business grows, sometimes the business outgrows people, and that's part of life and part of, a business that doesn't mean, that the person is no good or anything like that. It just means it's not working, and...
The timing's not right.
The timing, exactly.
Time has passed. Time hasn't come.
The time hasn't come. It's just can be so many things. It doesn't mean it's like I mean, sometimes it could be, but
Yeah, I really wanted to save that relationship with my friend though, because we're still good friends to this day. He's one of my closest friends, and I just couldn't. Every time that salary came in every month, I felt icky.
Yeah.
It's like I don't deserve that.
Yeah.
And I know he won't negotiate. He won't argue. He's a nice guy. And it's not like he's one of those guys you take advantage of, but he looks after his people. He takes loyalty very seriously. So I think he appreciated that because I'm still in his life.
But that's good.
And
You
we're
can
in
get
each
over
other's
it.
life.
You know, we
Yeah.
have to get over these things. We can't be carrying around these things the rest of our life. All they do is make people miserable. I was saying to somebody a couple of weeks ago. I said, don't carry that around for your life. I said, look at all the old people who are miserable. I said, they've been carrying around too much
resentment
and bitterness and anger. Let it go.
Yeah.
Just let it go. It's not easy, but find a way to let it go. Because by holding it, you only hurt one person. You're not hurting that person. They're gone. They're moved on.
Yeah.
You're only hurting yourself.
Yeah.
Really, you know. So it's about, learning to let that stuff go.
Yeah. I had someone tell me, I used to go for these Reiki sessions, wild time in my life. And she said, my Reiki master said, write all your resentment down of all the people. Put it in paper, tear those papers out, burn them, and release them.
Yeah, I've heard that as well.
Kind of sort of worked.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of work, but given my patience level, I need to do it like every week because so much built up inside me sometimes.
But the more we do those kind of things, the easier and it comes, and the quicker it comes.
Yeah.
And we learn that resentment and anger and bitterness
doesn't serve you.
It doesn't serve. No.
Just ages you.
It does.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I know this is a good reminder because I get into those loops once in a while where I'll just be upset.
Yes.
And then just be bitter about something. If I look now that we're talking about it, has that helped either me or the other person? Nope. No. World has gone and world has moved on.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's a good reminder. Going from failures to winning. Have you had, okay, first of all, I'd like to ask you, you've been in business now, how many years has this been?
20. We're having our 20th birthday next week.
Awesome. You're commemorating it here today.
Exactly.
20 years of business, would you say you've made it?
Oh, made it. I mean, I think I've done a pretty good job,
Yeah.
I've had some good people in my team, but I started out, I did everything myself for the first 5 years. I know pretty much most aspects. I am struggling with digital marketing, trying to get my head around that one. But, I don't have investors. I've had some good people on my team for sure. But I think I've done a pretty good job. I still want to achieve more.
Yeah.
I think like a lot of entrepreneurs, it's like, okay, I've got here. Now I want to get to here.
Yeah.
And then you get there and you're kind of content for a week.
Wow, a week? I was thinking like hours. 3 hours.
Exactly.
Before the panic sets in. Like, what's my next goal?
Okay, I have to,
I'm at the North Star. What's further north than here?
Where can I go from here?
Yeah, it's only south from here. Where do we go?
But, I'm always looking to grow and expand. And
Yeah. When was in this 20-year journey, would you say, was it a moment you could point to or a series of events where you would say, you know what, I'm comfortable in my skin as a business owner and I think I've made it?
Oh my gosh, I don't know that I ever am, honestly.
Yeah.
There's so many times that you're like, oh, I'm just, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm making it up as I go. But then I'm like, hey, Maureen, calm down. Calm down. You're doing just fine. Look at where you are. Look at what you've accomplished.
Yeah.
So
this is why I think business owners tend to hang out with other business owners.
Yes.
because we're all constantly just going on being like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
Do you know? It's like, no, I don't know either.
I'm making it up.
Okay, yeah, make it as you go. What do I do next? I don't fuck if I know. Figure it out. Try it. Let me know if it worked for you.
Exactly. What did you do?
It's like, so that never goes away.
I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Now, there was, there's always a challenge that comes up no matter where you are in life. I think whether you're running a business or not, that you have a challenge and you're like, okay, holy shit, what was I thinking? And then you overcome that. You're like, okay, that wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you kind of get comfortable, and then there's something else that comes along and you're like, oh my God, again, what was I thinking? I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, that was yesterday for me.
Yeah.
That was just yesterday for me. I mean, that happens on any day that ends with a DAY.
Yeah.
I've noticed in my analysis.
Yeah. It's like there's always something. And
you end up blaming yourself.
Yeah, and you're like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Like, how did you not think of this?
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I get over them quickly now, but still, they just kind of come and hit you from the side. Yeah. It's like, really? Oh, I should have taken care of that. Now look what's happened. It's snowballed
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that self-criticism, right? Like,
it's
just an internal voice, and it comes and goes. I
try and keep it down. I try and keep it, quiet in a little bag.
Yeah.
Comes out every now and again, screaming.
It's like, go back in the
there. Get back in that box.
No, I think if you've been around for 20 years, I think you've had good control over that, because I don't see businesses surviving if they actually listen to that devil.
Yeah.
Of like, what were you thinking? You're stupid. You're not cut out for this. Try something else. Why don't you do something safer?
Yeah.
Your life depends on this. Don't mess up. You're not allowed to mess up.
Look at the
competition. Yeah.
My husband has always been my biggest cheerleader, really, and my boys as well, but my husband for sure.
Yeah.
And he's always like, just take a little break. It's okay. Take a break and get back to it, Yeah.
Yeah. Last night, Alina was having a spiral, and I'm sure you're okay, Alina, if I share these things, but we all do. So it's nothing to be ashamed of. And I just became very sarcastic with her just to make her giggle. I'm like, so things are not 100% right?
Yeah.
It's like, what? They didn't do 100% of their job?
Yeah.
They made a 1% mistake? How could this be?
Yeah.
How will we ever recover from this?
Like, let's focus on that 1%.
Yeah, it's like, what? The client is not 100% cooperative?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
What are we going to do, Alina? And she just looks at me and she smiles. She's she's like, okay, I get it. I'm like, no, Alina, we're in trouble. We're not 100%. How can we not be? And sometimes it's the devil speaks the loudest when the trouble is like the smallest.
Oh, absolutely.
We
focus
completely
on
bananas.
That 1% or 2%. It's like, seriously, focus on the 98, 99% of things that are going correctly.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, it's part of human nature to focus on those little things too. But it's training yourself to get back. Let's focus on the good things.
Yeah. And this is why I think that the failure that we talked about, that you had earlier and I had earlier in schooling too, kind of gives you the sense like, we can come back from this.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. It's a bit of a hiccup. We can come back from this.
Yeah.
But with and I keep sharing so much about Julina, I'm sorry, but she hasn't, as you said, she hasn't had in her academic life any failures, in the sense that always a good student, always on time, everything was submitted, all grades are passed, other kids learned from her. In fact, there's stories of one of her best friends bothering her a night before the exams for notes, and he ends up doing better than her in the test, where she did like preparation for weeks. So when we got into business, was our first run-in with what failure can be.
Yes.
And how, no matter how much you try to do your best, sometimes things don't work out
exactly
in your favor.
Yeah.
But she's such a strong girl. She's working through everything, and she works through really well, and she just jumps up into action. It's amazing to see her sulk for a little bit and then go back into like action mode. Like, what can I do next?
Yeah, exactly.
It's happened, whatever. Like, let's move on.
Yeah, and our failures,
it's beautiful to see.
Our failures are what make us.
Yeah.
If everything worked out, all the time and there was nothing, I think you might find it boring. You know, it's like overcoming those challenges. Hang on a minute, that's not going to go there. I need to find a way to get that, to do that, or it gets your mind working,
True. And if someday someone is to write a biography on you, it needs to have spice. It needs to have that curve going up and down.
Exactly.
It can't be linear like...
It can't be all flatlined. I mean, what happens when you flatline?
You die.
You die, exactly. You're better off to have the,
That's the thing. In the moment to remember that.
Which is hard.
Is the key. Yeah.
Which is hard. But the more you do it, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
That's my experience anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's talk about team. You mentioned you have a really good team. That's part of the reason you're celebrating your 20th anniversary next week.
Yeah.
I want to ask you from a perspective of, okay, let's say you found good people. And we all know when we found good people, right? Like, you just know. Yes, you can have all these checklists and everything, but sometimes you know.
Yeah.
How do you then keep them? Is the question. It's like, what do you find your way of, boringly saying it, retention strategy? Because as we grow our business, when we first started, we didn't think of longevity. We thought of survival. We thought of showing up the next day. That's paying the next salary is the big thing. Now we're in the mindset of like, okay, we're collecting our stars. Some of them are showing really good potential, and we love them. And we're thinking how your retention strategy has changed from, your early days, let's say your first 5 years or years 0 to 5, and then 15 to 20. Are there commonalities on like what you do to keep people with you, the ones that you like?
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, because I was small and I didn't have a big budget to hire people, I ended up hiring, almost everybody was part-time, a mom who had the time to drop the kids off at school, work for a few hours, and then go pick the kids up, and able to take holidays and that kind of thing. So that worked really well. So that flexibility was really good with that demographic, But as I grew and needed people full-time, it's harder to find, those, moms who want to commit to that sort of thing. So, I mean, obviously paying people properly. I mean, you do have to watch, what the pay scales are out in the region, because paying people is one of your biggest expenses for a company, and it's not something that you can kind of be like, okay, this month this much, this month that much. You have to make payroll, so you want to be cautious with that. When the company does well, we give bonuses. When the company doesn't do well, we don't give bonuses. And you can't take money back from people. But I think it's little things. During COVID, everybody was, this just comes to mind actually about, pay. Everybody basically cut salaries by, what was it, 30% or something, and it was just your basic pay, which we did in order to survive. I mean, we survived, which was very good. But then the next year we had one of our best years, and I paid everybody back those wages that I had taken. So
love it.
Little things like that. I try and make it a nice place to work. It's a nice environment. Not everybody gets along like they're best friends, but that's okay. But you try and do things where people get along. Just treating people like human beings and being grateful for them. I probably don't say thank you enough, you know. It's just not that I'm not thankful, but I was raised in a family of 9 kids, and you just got on with stuff.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
9 kids.
Yeah.
It's not even a soccer team.
Yeah, exactly. And you just got on with things. There was not this. I mean, you treated people nicely, but so it's just something I do need to work on more, being more thankful, openly, and saying it or writing something, which probably I am not as good as I should be.
Is that just generally expression?
Yeah. Like I do say, but it's not like, oh, wow, thank you. You know what I mean? I just, I'm not, I can't be fake, and I am thankful, but I just can't be like, wow, that's great. You know?
Some confetti thrown.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, Employee of the month. Well done. I just had to give it to someone, so it's you.
So here you go. You've never had it before, so there you go.
Exactly. Participation trophy.
Yeah, we try and have, fun things. We are going, we're having a team building event tomorrow, actually, and we're going to play paintball.
Paintball.
Oh my God,
okay.
I know.
Okay, that's when you know who the friends are and who are not.
We do different. We have training things within the team. My HR manager organizes, different events and things like that, cakes for birthdays and that kind of thing. But there's no foosball table in the break room. There's no,
But you're the only one who's trained to operate a rifle probably in your company.
Yeah, exactly. Will I have an advantage? I'm also the oldest by far.
And you're taking your team to paintball.
Wasn't my idea. It was my
Good luck to you guys.
My HR lady. I'm like, you've been secretly, she's got 3 teenage boys. I'm like, you've been secretly playing out there, haven't you?
Well, your muscle memory will kick in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, is it just like a rifle, or is it like a rapid fire machine gun? And I'm like, you just mow us down.
Yeah. You're gonna be so accurate.
Oh my God!
Couldn't you take them to darts or something?
Exactly. It's like, but almost everybody wanted to do it, so I was like, okay, I'm game. I have to be, I guess.
That's nice. And you also have the nature of your business. Your team is physically around each other.
Yes.
So there's a certain energy that you can almost feel.
Yes.
And kind of manage and maneuver around that too. And do you have ways of like countering the energy in the business, like on whether it be on the floor and the offices? And
I mean, we just, I think most people are on friendly. People come in, you say good morning to everybody, you say good night, you say, I do find with our team that I wasn't a big fan of working from home. I think to collaborate, we did it when we had to, but pretty much when COVID, when they opened it up, like, within, I think that July something, we went back into production, and everybody was back in. And everybody was there. And it's just like, we're a team, we work together. I find it difficult, at least in my business anyway. I think it's difficult. Different. Every business is different. But in my business, it's difficult to hash out problems by email.
Yeah.
Because you're there, you're by the production, you're looking at things, how is this affecting you? Oh, look, the thread didn't arrive. What can we do? Okay, what other colors do we have in stock? How can we do that? What does it match? The fabric, there's some defects on the fabric. Oh gosh, how are we going to handle that? You have to go and, so it's about people coming together and solving problems and then trying to, go on from there.
I agree with you. Email has been a painful way to solve problems. Like, I can tell you from the perspective of, again, the intangible service world, it kind of is the only way to do things, because a lot of the problems that we're solving are mental problems.
Yes.
And they're very different. You know what? I'll contrast it with when I was a foreign exchange trader. So if you've seen Wolf of Wall Street, imagine that, but Canadian. So we were nice.
A little smaller and
Yeah,
nicer.
smaller and nicer. Not shooting little people out of cannons. We weren't doing that.
Yeah.
But we had this certain energy in the office where we were all allergic to email too.
Yeah.
You want to say something?
Yeah.
Get up your desk, shout it. So we're like a bunch of sailors.
Yeah.
Potty mouth it. That's where I get it from.
Yeah.
And things would be resolved by just walking over to people's desk.
Yes.
And as an introvert, I had to really learn how to do that because, growing up has just been a bit shy, a bit meek, and, and then hiding. And we're the computer generation. So we'd chat a message and email people. And then my boss at the time was still in touch. I love her so much. She's one of the reasons we drove down to Charlottetown because she's from there.
Okay.
She was just like, go over and ask him.
Yes.
I was like, no, I can't, Bernadette. We can't just go over to someone. They're like, try it once. And I'm like, okay, fine. And that became my preferred way of problem solving.
Yeah.
But now we're in a remote culture and I miss it.
Yeah.
Our team is based in South Africa, India, sometimes Netherlands, sometimes Philippines, all over. And they're younger kids. They're like 20s, so they're not very good at calls.
Yeah.
They're like, just text me.
Just text, exactly.
Don't
or
talk to me.
WhatsApp, doing business by WhatsApp.
By WhatsApp, just like leave me.
Yeah. I think there is a place for email, especially once you've come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this is what we decided, and then you can save it somewhere. And often I'll say to people, if there is a reason why somebody's not in the office or for one reason, I said, let's get on a Teams call. We have Teams. Let's get on a call. Let's hash this out. Let's figure it out.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that, and I miss that. Hello, everyone. I want to take a moment to share something that's really, really close to my heart. As you know, this podcast isn't just a series of episodes. It's you and I getting mentored by the wisest of the wisest. Each episode is crafted with care, aiming to bring not just stories, but wisdom and insight into the fascinating and sometimes lonely world of entrepreneurship. This is more than just a podcast. It's a personal mentorship session recorded on camera for all of us to learn and grow together. And this is where you come in. If any episode has resonated with you, your subscription or your vote means the world to me. Every subscription lights a fire inside of me and fuels me to keep delivering content that I wish had existed before I started this podcast 2 years ago. So I humbly ask for your support. Please hit pause now and find that subscribe button on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to this. It's a small action for you, but it means everything to me. Thank you for being a part of this community and for your support and for choosing to walk this path with me. Stay curious and stay inspired. Thank you so much. Getting on a call like almost immediately. Now, here's what I'm trying to break. And we haven't implemented this with a team, but like the only way to replicate that office culture with people that are not physically in the country is to kind of have them working certain hours and then tell them that, if I say let's huddle up, can we please just huddle up? But then how do you manage, like when we talked about deep work earlier, if someone's in a deep work zone and you need to talk about something, or they have, let's say they're organized like you and they have a calendar for the day, they have their big rocks for the day, and whatever you're bringing to them does not affect them as much as it affects you, but you need them. How do you kind of manage that situation?
Well, one of the things that we've implemented since the new year, I don't know if you've read Vern Harnish's book, Scaling Up.
No.
So
Alina has. Because she was in the EOA.
Yeah. And one of the things the book talks about is the morning huddle. And so it's like, what are you doing? What
did you do yesterday? What are you doing today?
Just what are you working on today? So it's 24 hours. What are you working on? Give me some specifics. You can't be vague about it.
Yeah.
And what's in your way of accomplishing it. And you go through those three things with all the managers, and then they should do it with their team as well. But it helps flush out where you're going to see any issues throughout the day. You know. So it's and I'm hesitating right now because I don't know. Somebody said there was something about, you know, and you can edit this out, but we signed something at the Vern Harnish's thing this weekend about talking about that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I mean, I've read the book, so it wasn't something, and I've been doing it since January, so I don't know. But
I mean,
feel
but
free
this
to
is,
edit around this.
It's not a new concept, right? And
it's
like
not a new concept.
Like we used to do this in tech. I worked in tech, and we had a daily stand-up.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll call it different things. Scrum.
A scrum, a stand-up, and maybe we can just edit out the Vern Harnish. You can just say, this is something I've implemented since January.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And people are generally compliant on these daily huddles?
In the beginning, people were a little bit, you know, why do I have to go? It's never anything about me. And I'm like, no, we all communicate this way. We're going to do this 11 o'clock every morning. Get in the meeting room, stand up, quick 10 minutes. We don't try and solve issues. We try and see what it is, and then we kind of go off and work on the issues if it's just two people or whatever. If it's an issue where everybody is involved, then we stay afterwards.
Right.
But if it's only whoever's involved and you need to work it out, they can stay behind. Or you can say, can we look at 2 o'clock this afternoon? Is everybody free? So it's supposed to help limit the amount of these... we need to talk about this, because you know what you've got coming up for the day. Right. So you're kind of, you know.
It helps you organize yourself and the team together. I like that.
Exactly. And then the managers should do it with their teams as well. Yeah. And it helps to see who's doing what and who's not doing what. Yeah. Right? Because if the person comes in and every day is like, I'm doing whatever, you know, stuff. It's like, no, I need some specifics. Yeah. Give me specifics, what you're working on today. And if they keep coming in
those are the red flags, right?
Those are the red flags. And, you know, there's something to be said about people who come in and they never have anything to say. They either are so deep and overwhelmed they can't see past it, or they're not doing anything. Yeah. So it's a good way to help flush things out. You get 100%. To see things. It's on a daily basis. You're checking in. What's preventing you from moving forward? Let's deal with it. Let's get this going. Let's move on. Yeah. Yeah. And
you start hearing excuses.
Oh, excuses. It's there.
It's always the same thing over and over again.
That department. It's not me. It's somebody else.
And even from like an employee's perspective, because I've been on this from the other side too. There's two camps. One is like, we have to do this thing, like micromanaging me. Yeah. The other one where I appreciate it because I had to get my shit together. Yeah. Because I had to be on a call to tell people what I'm doing today. It just forced me to organize myself. Yes. If not for the week, at least for the day. Yeah. Absolutely. And then if I do waffle on the call, or if I'm being vague and if I get challenged, it's even better for me. Yeah. Because now I'm like, okay, got the focus back. Yeah. At least I can have a good next 24 hours. Exactly. It really depends on the two camps of people, right? Yeah. One's like, why do they want to know every day?
They need to know
They're micromanaging
everything.
me. And I was like, no, if I don't get micromanaged right now, I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. I don't know what to focus on. And I've said it on the call that I'm doing this thing, which implicitly implies I'm not doing the other thing. Yeah. And then if they want to catch in on that,
exactly.
Then they can change my priorities.
Yeah, look at accountants and lawyers and people like that who bill, and even other people who have to bill directly. Yeah. Every little thing they do is written down somewhere and accounted for. So you're just having a very verbal, quick catch up. So it's not being, I need you to write down.
And it's supposed to be helping them.
Exactly. It's supposed to open up communication within the whole team. And you get an idea of, because I'm not doing that, that's affecting them. So it's supposed to be about team building and communication. Yeah. Because often in organizations, it's communication that's lacking between the different departments. So this is a way to bring everybody together. Yeah.
On the trading floor, when we used to do these, one of the things Bernadette, my boss, used to say was that if you hear something interesting that your colleague has said, that's the win from this too. Like if you hear like, hey, I'm working on XYZ today, and it puts a light bulb in, like, you're doing what?
Yeah.
What? We have that? Or we can do that?
Exactly.
Can I talk to you offline afterwards and just learn from you? Like, how did you get there?
Exactly.
And that fosters kind of that organic, and for the people that take advantage of it, which they should, right?
Yeah.
Versus people who are only listening when they have their turn.
Yeah.
Versus not listening to the rest of the people going around the huddle.
Yeah.
But you have that added benefit too, right?
Exactly. I mean, when I was in the Air Force, and I worked, there's different departments you can work in, and one of the ones was like snag servicing. So when the aircraft snags, so
What's
you're
that?
working on snags, like
What are snags?
problems.
Okay.
You can't move forward.
That's a Dr. Seuss word for problems.
A snag?
I'm
Probably. But that's its technical name, snags servicing. So when the aircraft comes in, it's going on 24 hours a day. You're having to do the checks coming in, do any maintenance, small maintenance repairs. That's your snag. Maintenance, small maintenance repair. So that you can let the aircraft go, and then checks before you go out. So every time you, because it's running 24 hours, you would have 3 shifts a day. And so you would have a debrief at the end of your shift with the new team, that's coming on. So you're handing over. It's like a debrief and a handover. Right. And then this is what we got going on. That aircraft can't fly because it's got this. You need to work on this first. Those aircraft are all good. They can go whenever they're slotted. So it's a way of, communicating.
It's beautiful.
And I mean, nurses and doctors do that as well, right?
At the end of their shift,
they have a handover period, what's going on, because it's a 24-hour thing. So it's just a way to keep communication going and to build the team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember doing this in fast food too, because you'd have shifts, and at the end of every shift, the new team would arrive half an hour before you leave.
Yes, exactly.
And that's the time for you to mention anything. We're low on this, or that is expected, this is happening, and then you kind of pass off, versus people out the door at 8 and in the door.
And someone in, and you're like, okay, what's happened over the last 8 hours?
Yeah,
what's going on?
Good luck to you. I'm
out
out
of here.
Yeah. Good luck, everybody else.
Yeah.
We were talking a bit outside before we started recording about future-proofing businesses too, and evolving all the time with the business. 20 years, Maureen, that's a long time, because I can just see countless number of evolutions around that. Do you think it's been the same business for the last 20 years, or would you think it's changed personality a bunch of times to keep up with where the world is?
The world is. I think our grassroots are the same thing. We're still a company that my main focus the whole while I've been doing this is to create a good, nice, reliable swimwear brand that people I know and my family want to wear and like it, and so it's always been based on that. The other thing is I mean, in the beginning, I designed everything. I now have a design team who help, who does a lot of that now. But it's just always been about, let's give people something, some options, so that they have choices when they go to the beach. They're not having to get out of their comfort zone and take something off the shelf that makes them feel uncomfortable. This or that. So it's, it's just about giving people choices so that they can feel comfortable and confident when they go to the beach or pool. And that's always my focus, and just keep developing new things. As the competition is copying your stuff, you just keep looking at new ideas. How can I make this better? What else can I do?
Yeah, it's super competitive in terms of what you do, because you could have a brilliant idea in the shower, implement it the next day, and all the competitor has to do is just look at your product and they try to do the same thing.
Oh, and copy it exactly. Even your packaging, even your hang tags.
Packaging too?
Your header cards, everything.
Oh, that's nasty.
Oh, I say to myself, like, They're bigger than I am. Don't they have somebody who can come up with ideas themselves? Like,
Right.
where is the creativity in this world?
Right. Like, you want a formidable opponent.
Yeah.
Like, you inspire
Yeah,
me. Versus like, really?
David and Goliath. It's
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Seriously?
Yeah.
But maybe that's something to be said for, smaller companies, entrepreneurs. We're scrappy enough to come up with different solutions and different ideas.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Alina and I think about that a lot because in our industry, it's very easy. Again, we have the same problem. Can get copied pretty easily, like our scope of work.
Yeah.
And all, let's say, marketing agency almost sound the same.
Yeah.
Here's a red flag. If you see on a website of a marketing agency we're storytellers, they're not.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to say that on your website. You're not a storyteller.
Yeah.
But in terms of how they do business, from pricing models to scope of work, it's so homogenous out there. And we just decided early into our business that we're not going to study competition. Because that was the advice that was given to us early. It's like, hey, study what others are doing and then emulate, and then you make your own voice. And, And we felt that would be a trap because we would emulate and then become it.
Yeah.
And then we won't be able to shake it off. And we've been experimenting for the last 4 years on one simple thing, which is how do you get your customers, our customers are small businesses, right? How do we make it less painful for them? Because marketing, as you were mentioning, is goes over people's head. It changes so fast.
Yeah.
You don't know heads or tails of it. And what is the scope? I don't even know half these things. What are you charging me for? I'm already low on money.
Yeah.
Where's my return? There's already so much stress around marketing that the agency's job should first and foremost be to take that stress out.
Yes.
So that you can focus on results.
Yes.
And no matter what model we tried, there was a bit of stress left for the customer. So that's our continuous work on doing that. Kind of similar to when your customers are watching these Hollywood movies and they're like, well, that's how you dress on the beach.
Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to dress on the beach.
Yeah.
But I can't go to the beach because I have this, so-called imperfections by Hollywood standards.
Yes.
And I can't go. And then you come in with it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. You are okay.
Exactly.
Let me give something to you that you can find comfortable.
Exactly.
You're solving a problem for them.
Yeah.
Versus trying hey, this is a trending thing and I need to make money from this.
Yeah. No.
Right?
Yeah. It's, it's about, giving people options. I need options. I burn in the sun. And as I get older, I don't want to wear a one-piece little... I don't want to wear my underwear on the beach.
Right? Yeah.
I want to go swimming and feel like I'm just...
Yeah, I want the pajama version for beach.
Exactly, exactly. I have one friend who has varicose veins and she doesn't like to show them. So she wears 3/4 leggings, but she'll wear a bikini top. So there's all kinds of reasons why people want to cover different parts of their body, you know.
Of course.
And so we should be able to have those choices.
100%.
And one thing I've always done is try and make it as easy as possible for my customers.
Yeah.
We do everything. We suggest things. We come up with different ideas for them. Make it, and sometimes it's some people would say, oh, we're doing their job for them. It's it's okay. It's going to benefit.
Yeah. So would it be fair to say then practicing creativity is future-proofing your own business?
I think so. Being creative, coming up with those new ideas and tweaking things. How can I make this a little bit better? What can I do a little differently? What is it? Just And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are, as much as some people would say, "Oh, I'm not creative," I think they are in a way.
Yeah.
Being creative because you're having to look at structure of the business or what to go with, what not to go with. So you are being creative, even though it may not seem like it's a creative industry.
100% is. And that's why, that's the reason I've fallen in love with it, is that there's no right way to entrepreneur.
Exactly.
Just like there's no right way to be a creative. You just
it's
practice,
not
tinker.
Like math. It's not like math where 1 + 1 has to equal 2.
Yeah. Hey, you do know your
I do know my
tables.
math. Actually, I'm pretty good with mental math now. And my sisters, they'll say things like, it'll be like, oh, what's that plus that and this and that. And I'll go, oh, and I'll just give the answer. And then my sister will be there with a calculator. And then she'll come up with the same answer. she goes, oh, I've got good mental math
You've got
skills.
business on our math.
Yes,
You've got business on our math.
exactly.
That's the one that you
but
have.
don't ask me to do trigonometry or any of that stuff.
Tell me about the Pythagoras theorem.
Yeah. Oh my God. The what?
How many degrees is an obtuse angle?
Oh my God. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, but what pattern would you like for your top?
Yeah.
Let's talk about those.
Let's talk about something I can do.
Yeah, we're coming to a close, and there's a bunch of things I still have left to talk to you about.
Okay.
So I'll have to pick and choose from this buffet.
Okay.
Very scarcely. Okay. We didn't even talk about EO.
I was going to bring it up earlier, and it kind of slipped past. Yeah.
What would you say is your biggest takeaway that you didn't expect? So there's a certain kind of sense you had before joining EO, obviously, that you had reasons for why you joined EO. But what has been an unexpected benefit for you? Something you didn't see, but now you feel it fully?
I would just say the connectedness to all the other people who belong to the organization within Dubai. And even there was a small group of people from Karachi this past weekend who attended a learning event. And it's just, you have that connection and you just start talking and, it's really good. And it's nice because you can ask people questions. There's people with businesses of all sizes in EO, some much, much bigger than yours and some smaller than yours, And it's just a way to get out there and say, hey, I'm looking for this or I'm wondering about that. And people just are really helpful with giving not necessarily feedback, but oh, I did, I went here to get that done, or I've gone here, or this is who I've used, or, it's more about experience share as opposed to you need to do this, So that to me has been really, really good. And something extremely beneficial is all the learning events. When I first joined, somebody said, do as many of the learning events as you can. And I try and do, unless I'm out of town, I do them. And that's been really beneficial.
I think there's a reward for attending most
There
events.
is, apparently. I didn't even know that. Apparently you get a star, I guess. So. I don't know.
I last talked to Shilpa, and I think Shilpa was, I don't know if she's in your forum or not.
No, but I know Shilpa.
Yeah, so she has, I think she's like as much in love with these learning events as you. She's like, because I'm gunning for that award. I'm like, what? There's an award for this?
There's an award. I just heard about it. I didn't realize it. I was just like, I do it because I want to learn. Always keep learning. Always keep trying new things, Yeah.
What's been your favorite learning session?
Learning session?
Or event? And you can't pick the last one.
The last one. Because that's fresh in my mind.
Yeah,
but it's the one I'm going to use the most, actually.
Really?
Yeah, the other ones, some of the other ones were very good, John Mullins and that, but I feel like maybe I wasn't quite ready timing wise, whereas this one I'm really ready and it's well laid out. It's like a workbook. Although some of the others had workbooks, but this one just seems it's got checklists, it's got templates. And it's got how-tos. I mean, you have to do the work.
I'm drooling.
Yeah, you have to do the work. So it's not like you can just sit back and go, oh, that's great. You have to sit and do the work with yourself and with your team. But we had one recently about digital marketing, like the actual where to, the SEO and I don't know, that stuff.
All the fun stuff.
Yeah, all that fun stuff there. I'm just like, oh my God, I don't understand any of this.
Yeah.
That was quite informative as well. Yeah, but they've all been very good.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You can't go wrong with any of them, right?
You can't. Yeah. And I attend, as many as I can.
Yeah. That's our goal when we do get to the EO qualified level.
Yeah.
because Alina loves learning.
Yeah.
We're both lifelong learners. We have different styles of learning.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm more of a textbook or book kind of learner.
Yeah.
She's much more of a lecture, classroom, videos kind of thing kind of learner. So the nerds in us are just like drawing us towards EO, and when we get there. I do reserve one question as my final question as we're close to our wrap-up time. And I've completely stolen this from my favorite podcaster. So Tim, here's me stealing your question again. But if you had a billboard, Sheikh Zayed Road.
Yes.
Millions of people passing by every day.
Yeah.
They're all busy with their own thoughts. Once in a while, they look up and they see this billboard.
Yeah.
What message would you like them to see every day? And it can't be by swimwear.
No.
Your swimwear.
No.
It can be commercial.
No.
Cannot be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's nothing to do with COÉGA. It's just something inspirational.
Maybe a reminder, maybe a philosophy of yours.
Okay. I mean, something I would say is don't take things too seriously. Have some fun. Laugh. Laughter is the best medicine, you know. It really is. So probably something on those kind of lines. You know, have fun, laugh. Yeah, don't take yourself or things too seriously. Yeah. Chill out. Relax. You know.
Yeah.
But, you know, you still have to get shit done, but,
Yeah.
you know.
You know,
you
I like
have
that.
some good times as well. Everything can't be like, drudge,
Yeah.
you know.
You know, I like that because it's literally the opposite of every billboard. Because every billboard is inspiring you to do a thing so you can buy the thing.
Exactly. Buy this because it will make you better.
Yeah, and then work really hard so you can have the money to buy the thing. And try not to chill until you have the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't chill yet.
Yeah.
You're completely broken.
Yeah.
You're incomplete without my product.
Without my product. You will be so much better if you buy my product.
Wouldn't it be beautiful if we just had these billboards around the city with these kind of messages?
Inspiring, you know. Nice messages like it's okay, we're gonna get through today,
like just it's okay. I can just see that written down. It's okay,
we're gonna get through.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's like, fuck yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
That'd be really nice.
Yeah. And another thing that I always say is don't spend too much time focusing on what's wrong. Spend more time on how you want to make that right and where you want that to go and be and do, you know. It's like rather than, because you get into those negative spirals very quickly when you start focusing on that negative. It's like, take that and be like, yeah, okay, I don't like that, but how do I want it to be? What do I want to get from that?
Yeah. And trying to remember that in the moment that your spiral is happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you said, I think I've heard from tons of people, so you can't be completely wrong about how meditation helps with just regaining perspective in those silly moments.
It just makes you a little more chill. And it's not a lot of time. They say 15 minutes a day, but it's about just clearing your mind and getting that little, you know.
Yeah.
Just be like, hey, get back in that box.
Yeah.
I'm taking 15 minutes for me.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, I'm not getting rid of you. You can be here. I know you're here.
Yeah.
But for now, just
chill.
Hang out. Just chill. Just chill. You know, just have a drink. Here you go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, here's a cigar.
Yeah.
Just entertain yourself for a little bit. Give it the iPad.
I was going to say, give it the iPad with Candy Crush on it. Here, do this for 15 minutes.
Maureen, it's been lovely. We've shared a bunch of laughs on this, which was your message at the end.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we did that throughout the time. It's nice to meet a fellow process nerd, and it's nice to go through this journey of sewing machines to aircrafts to swimwear with you. And I've really enjoyed this. Thanks so much for coming on. And I think we'll have to do a part 2 because there's a bunch of stuff that I haven't asked you about. Risk taking.
Okay.
About short term versus long term. There's so many things. I can't get into that, but maybe we'll need to
another time.
Maybe we'll do a contrast, a year from now and see how things have changed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely, actually. It's been really nice. You just feel like you're having a little conversation and nice, I'm not stressed. I don't have to do my box breathing to settle down.
Yeah. Did you prepare and rehearse all your scripts?
Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
yeah. What is your mission statement? Freeze.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It's been lovely. Thank
Cheers.
you.